Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our third episode of an Expo and Excellence podcast. Today we have our wonderful guest, Vanessa Ruiz, also known as Baker Nessa, also known as Cooker Nessa. She is the 2023 America's Best High School 2022 America's Best High School Chef pastry winner. She is a CCAP Arizona alumni, and among many other things she is. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was also 2023 America's Best Judge.
Oh, yeah, you did judge in the America's Best for 2023. That's hilarious. But, I mean, I just want to get right into it. A general question of, like, I know, obviously, Arizona's CCAP, but how'd you come to get into the CCAP program? And could you give a brief synopsis of the CCAP program for our listeners at home?
Yeah, so CCAP is Careers to Culinary Arts program. I was in my junior year at EVIT, and they, at the time there was a chef who was, he was like the head chef of like Arizona CCAP, and his name was Jelani Port. He actually has his own private chef business, that it's like out the roof. He's amazing. But anyways, he came to EVIT and gave like a demo and of like CCAP, and I remember being like, I'm not gonna do this. Like, this is like, I'm here to bake, not to cook. But like, the minute I got told about scholarships and stuff like that, like, I was always one of those students where if you're asking me to do something, or if you're asking me to participate in an opportunity, I'm gonna take it. Mm-hmm. I've never not said 100%. No to anything, even when I didn't feel like doing it. Yeah. That was one of those moments. I was really just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it because everyone else is doing it. And there were so many people that signed up that day but didn't do it. I ended up being actually the only person from our school doing it. Yeah. But like I said, like if I go through something, if I do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it fully. I'm not gonna half-ass something, you know. So I remember signing up, or he did the demo, and I was like, okay. I was like, I could probably do this or whatever. I was like, let me just sign up because everyone else is signing up. So I did, and it was amazing. Like, it was honestly really easy looking back at it now. Back then, like, I had my days where, like, I didn't feel like doing it, and then the days, because it was just, like, the same thing over and over. Yeah. And I would also miss part of my pastry class to just specifically do
the CCAP program.
Training for CCAP. So I signed up, I did everything, I put my application, and I started in my junior year. And so you could start at your junior year, but you don't get scholarships until your senior year. Mm-hmm. But it looks good if you do it junior year.
And that's how you got the boot camp.
Exactly. Yes. I was about to say that. So I actually won the one and only like award that you can win in junior year, which was coming to the boot camp. And just like looking back at it now, like everything makes sense. And it didn't make sense back then while I was doing it, but now it makes sense.
Everything, like, it feels like it lines up, almost like a domino effect, right?
And I'm just so happy that I took the opportunity, because I would definitely not be where I am today if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. But you said the CCAP program, but even before that, like, did you just like baking growing up? You just found a passion for it? Was it in the family, a little bit of both? How'd that happen?
So, I know a lot of people can say this, but for me it was Cake Boss. I started watching it when I was like 4 years old. Like, back at home, like, I would always go to my dad's. My parents are divorced, so I would always go to my dad's, and like my dad didn't really like pay for cable or anything like that, so we just had whatever was on like the satellite. And so Cake Boss was always there, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just loved watching it and like truly seeing like what was made, and like I literally would watch it so much where I could tell you how everything was made. When like I'd go to birthday parties, or I'd see crazy cakes, I'd be like, oh, that was made out of fondant, that was made out of Rice Krispie treats. Like, that's how it was. Like, so then I started baking here and there with my grandma, and then my mom and my dad and my other grandma, they always loved cooking. So like I was always kind of by it, but I would just watch. I would never really participate much in the cooking, but like baking was just always something that I enjoyed. And so then it turned into Nessa watching, I don't know if you've heard of Nerdy Nummies.
I don't think so.
Her name's Rosanna Pansino. She has like two cooking books out and whatnot, but she was like a big like inspiration to me, and I would always watch YouTube videos of how to make all her stuff. Like, it would come out like once a week at this time, and I would always watch it. So that's how I really got into, like, I would say the more like trendy baking styles. And then I would just be like, oh, Dad, I want to try this. And then like in like third grade, I was like 8 years old, I think. I made my first fondant cake ever. Whew. I showed Dean the other day. It's ugly.
You still
but like,
have the picture?
Yes.
Oh my
dad.
God.
It was like I tried to do like a square, like 3 square tiers. And,
Oh, okay.
But like with like a strawberry syrup inside and the strawberry like filling, and it just looks. You could honestly for the age I was at, it doesn't look too bad. You could definitely see it.
I'm sure it looks
but
great
it was
for
like
an 8-year-old.
leaking out the juices. So, but yeah.
The concept good? Would you ever try to recreate it?
If I recreated it, that'd
You
be
gotta
so
do that. That'd be
cool.
awesome.
I definitely will. Because I remember going to Michael's with my dad, and I was like, he was like, okay, like, just get what you need. And it came up to like $150. And I was like, but he still said yes. So I was like, phew, I'm out. Like, yeah.
So you zoomed through the CCAP program and it wound you up, even past the boot camp, it wound you at America's Best High School Chef, where it was kind of coming after COVID, so there weren't as many competitors, but you did do that competition and you did come in first place, which gave you the full ride scholarship. I mean, how was that competition? How do you feel about it? And looking back on it now, like, is anything different?
Yeah.
Your mindset about the whole thing?
So I remember, funny story, actually, Dean didn't tell me about America's Best. Like, me and Dean we were, like, he would text me here and there, but at that time that America's Best came around, we weren't as close as we are now, of course.
Well, he had your eye on you since boot camp, 100%.
So I was filling out the rest of my application, and the admissions counselor, Nelson, what's his name? Morales. So funny, I see him around campus now, and he's like, Vanessa, so it's so cute. But Nelson was like, I don't know if you heard, but like, they have this thing called America's Best every year, da da da. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely have the dean reach out to you, send you more information. I was like, okay. And like, at first I was like, that'd be so cool. But I was like, will my parents even say yes? Like,
yeah, and it's all the way. And the thing is, like, America's Best High School competitors, they're almost always from New York because it's right here at the school. And you came all the way from Arizona and everything.
Yeah. So I was like, all right. I was like, let me talk to my mom. So then I remember, like, when I got the form, it was saying like this many competitors will be pastry, like you have to apply for it, you have to be accepted, like you pretty much have to move on from the first round, and the first round was like, oh, send in your dessert pictures, and then Dean was gonna choose the top 6 or whatever. So then I remember telling Dean that like, oh, I want to do it. He's like, okay, you know you have to come to New York. I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like, and I was like, because I talked to my parents about it, like, yeah, like if you feel comfortable and you think it's worth it, like we'll
100%.
let's do it. So then
scholarship's definitely worth it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So then I told Dean, I was like, okay, like I want to do it.
I'm in.
And so without telling me like straightforward, he basically told me he had saved me a spot. And I didn't really know.
I don't really think he needed to save you a spot, but
I didn't really know what he meant by that. So I was so lost. So I just kept telling, my mom kept like asking me like, okay, do we have to buy the tickets now? Like, are you sure? Like, I'm like, I don't know. Dean hasn't told me anything. Cause like, I will definitely say I was a lot more like shy and like timid back then. And like, I was very like,
I mean, after COVID too, it's like, no one talked to anybody.
Well, not only that, but just like also like now I'm still super humble, but back then I was like very, very humble. Like I always told myself like I'm a student, like I need to charge the bare minimum. Like it was just like, you know, like that. So when Dean was like basically telling me that he was saving me a spot, I was like,
why?
Huh? Like I gotta work for this. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, you're like, why are you even doing that? Like what did I do?
So then I remember then one day I was like, hey Dean, like I just want to check up and see like where I'm at, like da da da. He was like, honey, like I've been saved you a spot since the first day. And I was like, huh? So I go to my mom and I call my mom and I'm like crying at school and I'm like, Mom, like Dean said he saved me a spot, like we can go, da da da.
That's awesome.
And so then I started like brainstorming ideas, and like one thing at the bakery I used to work at, it's called Essence, a bakery in Arizona. It's like my chef, she was very hard on me, but like she taught me so much. Like I would definitely, like again, like another Dean, like I would definitely not be here where I am today without her. Mm-hmm. And so my favorite flavors at the time was pistachio, raspberry, white chocolate.
That's a great combination.
And she did a pistachio raspberry tart. So I was like, okay, how can I do this into a fine dining like
concept
dessert, exactly, with all the
same exact like same elements, but like turn it. I always love that kind of stuff. The way like Dean will do that too. He'll take like you know, but like the donut stuff, the donut entree. It's like taking these simple ideas and making it like fine dining like esque. It's really interesting.
So I was like, how can I Well, then it was also the requirements was like, oh, you need a chocolate component, a crunchy component, of this, of this, of this. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. I was like, so what can I do with this? So then I started brainstorming, and then when I was ready, I brought it to my chef at work, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. She's like, of course. She's like, use the recipes you need, you know, the other recipes, like, we can make together and whatever. And so then I ended up doing it, and I took some of the recipes from Essence and some of the recipes from EVIT, which was the career prep school I went to for commercial baking, and I brought them together, and then all of a sudden I just started plating. I started playing with the plating designs. Funny story is I only practiced 2 times before America's Best.
I don't know if like that sounds bad, but at the same time, I don't even know. Do you think these kids like really practice their dishes?
I don't know. Like,
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, I look back on it and I'm like, huh? How did I do that? But so
2 years
and
is a
it
long
was more
time.
like it wasn't even 2 times. I would say it's like 1.5 because I practiced one time where I tried out all these plating techniques, and a lot of it was like stuff I already knew. A sablé crust, easy. That's a pastry cream, easy.
Yeah,
like,
obviously,
it
easy.
was just like it was a lot of easy things.
Anyone could do it,
Like,
right? Anyone,
exactly.
obviously.
So then I was like, okay, so then when it came to my second practice, it was one last practice before I was going to go to the competition here. And I don't even know, like, I was really bad at, like, eating and, like, making sure I was hydrated and, like, everything. And I was in the kitchen for my first 4 hours of school.
Don't tell me you passed out.
I literally passed out.
Oh my God.
I literally I got so lightheaded. I just like that was it for me. But I didn't pass out in the kitchen. I sat down and then like I passed out and then I was fine.
Just knocked out?
But like I don't even know. It was so scary. And so I remember calling my mom. And she's like, "This is why I tell you need to eat." And then like that's one thing I'm really big on now because like that's one thing I will not do is pass out in the kitchen. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. So that happened, and so like I didn't even finish that practice. I pretty much just cleaned up and then I left. And then I was like, all right, well, let's see how it goes here in New York. And so I brought some of the stuff I needed with me, and then Dean provided a lot of stuff. Dean was like, if you come in the day before, like.
I remember
Yeah.
you came in and helped a little
Yeah.
bit. But like it had to do it, I mean, to give it even playing field. I mean, everyone's coming from New York. You have to bring all this stuff across Arizona.
Yeah.
And at that time, you haven't had team experience where you're bringing all this stuff across
I was
all
like,
this
how do I do
airlines.
this?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, how do
yeah.
you, it's like, how do I,
Even
am I allowed
for
to bring like a
CCAP.
knife kit on a plane? Like, I wouldn't even know
Exactly.
any of that stuff unless I did the team.
Exactly. And
Because we have to
even-
do it so often.
Yeah, and even for CCAP though, CCAP gave me like a paper. They're like, if they ask you anything, like give them this paper and let them know that you have to bring this knife kit, yada yada, whatever. But yeah, so then America's Best, I was like, my one stress was like, am I gonna make it on time? And I ended up finishing like 20, 30 minutes early. I'm sitting here trying to clean the
Very
plates and,
typical, Nessa.
Like it was because I
Very
was nervous,
typical.
so I was rushing everything. I was pushing everything. Like I really thought I was gonna be late. So yeah, so then I come in early. Your guys' team helped me prep and then helped me get all my equipment together in a bus bin. And so then, yeah, the competition was next day, and I was so nervous. I remember Dean telling me, like, yeah, so there's actually just you and this other girl. And I was like, okay, so this is like a 50-50 chance. And Dean was like, but if you execute everything as you're supposed to, like, if you, like, you'll be good. Don't stress about it. And I was stressing about it all night till America's Best.
It's kind of funny, like, I never did America's Best, but it's funny how, like, next semester you're going, and we'll get into it later, the whole sculpting class, but it's like Andy's going to be in that class with you,
Yeah.
and, like, you did America's Best
Yeah.
together, like, Melina won culinary while you won
Yeah.
pastry, and then, boom, you're on the same team together.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I know. I think it's, like, funny, too. I'm like, but that's one of the things that I love that I have really good memory because, like, a lot of the faces I saw when I first started in fall semester were faces that I saw all at America's Best, like Matt, like Enrique, like just
You just remember those, yeah. It's
yes.
so funny that this like the school, the way that the school's like family oriented and like you
That's
just see
one thing I
people and you
always
know
stress.
people. I always
Yeah.
love that. But
Yeah.
getting past America's Best, going into Monroe, were you like, I'm on this team, like I'm doing the culinary team, there's no questions asked?
So I wasn't really sure what was really happening because Dean, again, after America's Best, Dean would genuinely check up on me like every once
Yeah,
a
he's
month.
like, so when you joining the team,
Nah,
like,
it was more like, it was like, hey, how are you? Like, da da da. And then as it got closer, it was, hey, how are you? Are you excited? It's getting closer, whatever. And for me, it was a big change. I come all the way from Arizona. Like,
Oh,
it
yeah, I can imagine.
was
It's
a lot
totally
for
different
me.
environment.
Yeah. So it was a lot for me, but I was like, part of me just like I had so much going on back at home. I was so ready to get out. I was like, I'm so excited and like you know, and Dean kept telling me, like, I plan to keep you very busy. Like, is that okay with you? So, like, I kind of had some sort of idea, but I still didn't know exactly how the culinary team worked here. I thought there was just one team and not, like, you know, how there's, like, the small competition team, or the
Well,
larger
that's how it was
competition
for
team
us,
and
right?
then
We didn't have the support. It was just the 5 of us. But for
No,
you
but I'm
guys,
saying, like, you know how we have the competitions where we hold here?
oh
and then we have
yeah,
the competitions where you go
yeah.
travel.
It gets a little confusing because
Yeah.
it's like there's the competition team of the people who compete and help the team competitors who do the team
Yeah.
competition for the ACF.
Yeah.
Then there's the people who just do their solo
Yeah,
individual
exactly.
competitions.
So I was a little confused by that, but then come to find out as well, the first week of October was tryouts.
And you had to go, right?
Yes, I was supposed to go on a cruise with my family, and then we didn't know it was hurricane season, so we ended up not going. I ended up going home for that week instead because my flight got canceled and whatnot. My parents like, well, and I was like, well, I was planning to go on a vacation, so can I just come home? And like, I missed home like so quick being here, you know. I know there was a lot of talk about like, oh, Nessa's gonna quit the team because she's gonna be so homesick, but like, I'm so happy I stuck it out. And like, honestly, homesick
Yeah, there
is
was talk
nothing.
about that. I'm like, I think
Yeah.
she's a little more tougher cookie than you people are giving her credit
like,
for.
Nobody knew
Yeah.
me.
And also-
Everyone just liked to talk.
And also, I don't even know. Well, in December, obviously,
Yeah.
the tryouts were for December technically. I did like me and Thomas did dessert. I don't think there was a freshman. We had a lot of competitors. I don't think there were any freshman pastry students that I could recall that actually did it. I think you were the
Yeah.
only one who did a dish. So it was
Well,
kind of
didn't
like
Chris Butler, did he?
Oh yeah, Chris. It was
Yeah.
literally just you and Chris
Yeah.
doing a dessert for first semester.
Yeah.
So it
Oh,
was.
first semester. No, that was just me.
Was it?
Yeah, I did skills and a dish.
And a dish, yeah.
And then
I was
they did
actually
just skills,
just
yeah.
about to get it right into that. I mean, you talked about how you wanted to, and
Yeah.
you obviously got on the team, but before training camp could start for regionals in January, you had something right in front of you, and so did your teammates, and it was the December competition.
Yeah.
But you, in a very Ruiz fashion, I might add, did 2 competitions on the same day
Yeah.
and scored two gold medals, one being
Yeah.
best of show. Not many people can say, I don't know anyone who can say that they've gotten 2 medals on the same day,
Yeah.
both gold.
Yeah.
I competed twice on that day. I got 1 silver and 1 gold.
Yeah. Really quick, relating back to the last question, I was gonna say something else about I'll have to get back to it. It was about
We'll circle back.
yeah. So yeah, that competition, I don't even know. Like it was like 3 weeks out, and we were like, and Dean was like, okay, well, I want to throw you in skills, and I was like,
Yeah.
Or he was basically telling me that I was staying in a good spot. I was being consistent with my dish. I was staying in one spot. So he was like, I want to do more for you. Like, I want you to
Yeah.
do more. And I
He
was like,
wants to push you.
yeah. And I was like, okay. Like, I was like, so I'm like, what are you thinking? Like skills? And he was like, yes. And he's like, how do you feel about decorating cake? I'm like, Dean, I'm like, well, like decorating cake is my thing. I love cakes.
Yeah.
I was like, cookies, I'm like, not to toot my own horn, Dean, but you know I could do that in my sleep. Like that's something you learn in like the first week of like, I learned in like junior year.
Yeah.
I was like, and then Supreme and orange was the only thing that was super new to me. But even the first time I did it, I remember showing Gio and he was like, there's no way that was your first time. I was like, no, for real, I've never done this before. I don't even know how to. And it was actually pretty clean. Like looking back at it now, like I would have definitely fixed it up a little bit, but like I have a picture and it was like
Yeah.
my first one. So I was like, yeah, Dean. I was like, I could do this. I was like, in an hour, like I could do this.
Well, for your dish, you did the entremet, which, I mean, you had down after a couple weeks, and then he threw you into pastry skills, which was like, I think you and 2 others were doing it at the time. I think it was Chris and Kaylin was supposed to do it, but something happened there. But the way, I mean, your pastry skills are like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, the
Thank
way you do your cakes, I remember when you have to do like the initial frosting on your cake to bring in to do like the skills and demonstrate them for the medal. It's just like, I don't even know how you do that. I could be there for like an hour trying to do
Yeah.
that. And it's like, for you, it's like that. It's actually like crazy. But after you got those gold medals, I mean, how did you feel? I mean, getting 2 gold medals on the same day. I mean, how many people can say that they've done that, ACF or not? I mean,
so I was honestly like really skeptical about it because like it was like, okay, I have to do pastry skills, but then I also kind of felt some sort of way because I was like, it has to be a quick turnaround, you know? Like
Yeah.
there was practices where I would have a good amount of time and there's practices
Well, you did.
right after. And so
what was it like on competition day? I don't remember your turnaround.
I think
I think you had okay.
Yeah.
I think you had like maybe an hour or so.
Yeah, something like that.
For me, it was funny because you know how me, Gio, and Thomas did the same thing. We did culinary skills and then our dishes. So Gio literally had to leave, like he finished and then had to go do his dish like immediately.
Yeah.
Thomas had 20 minutes. I had like an hour.
Yeah.
I had an hour.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh,
can't
dope.
remember. I can't remember, but
I definitely don't think you went right into it. I don't think so.
No, I definitely not that.
Because I think you went when I did. I
yeah,
think.
we were.
Yeah. So
like
we definitely had
around
a
the
little bit of
last-
time. We definitely had a little bit of
Yeah,
time.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah. So I remember getting I remember getting a gold for skills, and I was really happy because like everything looked pretty good. You know, it wasn't no schmappy birthday, but like,
It wasn't no schmappy birthday, but right?
Yeah. So
Did you have to do that? Yeah, you did,
Yeah, I
right?
had
Oh
the
yeah, you
pipe
had to do
happy
the
birthday,
yeah.
There was just no top border, just bottom border. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I feel really comfortable about this, but then when the critique happened, they were just nitpicking. And at the time, I was like,
you were
they
scared.
have so much
You were
to say.
scared,
Like,
yeah.
This is bad. I'm definitely going to get like a silver.
The amount of times I've heard a critique that's like, we have nothing to say, 3 times maybe. Like, it's not even, they'll always like, there have been a couple medals where I'm like, this could be a bronze or a gold. I don't even know what this is about, what they're about to hand me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And like, me being like, the humble person I am, I know I always like make jokes and stuff, but like I was like expecting the worst, you know. I always expect the worst.
Yeah.
And so when they handed me the gold, I was like lit. So now I gotta go and get this other gold, like, cause it'll just be so perfect. And also it was my dad's birthday that day, and I told my dad.
Even know that.
My dad was like, "Don't FaceTime me again unless you get 2 golds." And I was like, "Dad, I'm gonna get you this for your birthday."
The pressure is crazy.
Like, yeah. So then when my dish happened, I was actually it was like one of the last runs.
Yeah, I feel like I remember that too.
I go and I'm like standing there and I'm like, and you know everyone's trying to like peek and see what color and like all this and that, and then all of a sudden I see them flip the certificate and I just start crying and I was like, what? It's like, no way.
That's one of the most powerful moments when the judge has the certificate facing them and then they flip it over and they're like, you know, gold medal, and I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
So that was a moment for sure, especially being like my first ACF competition.
And that was your first ACF. I didn't even, because America's Best, obviously, that's just our school's competition. It's your first like ACF competition. That's really, I was talking to our first episode when we had Melina. I mean, the impact, I was like, the impact you made was like outstanding. I said the same, I mean, I fully say the same thing for you. I mean, you made such an impact in December, although Best of Show went to me. But Best of Show might have gone to me for pastry, you know, that pair out of this world. But, you know, the 2 gold medals you had, I mean, that's an impact. And like that momentum that you guys had going into regionals, I think it was like, from there it was like, it's it, you know what I mean? But I kind of we talked about regionals with Melina. That's a little, this is nationals fallout. I mean, nationals just happened last week. I want to zoom right all the way to that, unless you have any finishing thoughts about the other stuff. I want to get into.
So really quick, with the whole tryouts thing with Dean, I'm sorry, I'm like a person where if I have something on my head, I have to like get it out.
Yeah, you have to get it out. That's not a problem.
But the tryouts thing was that when I had left for October with my family, Dean was like, "Don't worry about it, honey. I already know where I want to put you." And I was like, but I knew I felt some type of way because I was like, I don't want anyone to think that this was handed to me.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in you reap what you sow. And I put so much work into it that I don't think anyone knew in the background, that they just assumed, oh, she was handed this, like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, when I came back, I was like asking Bella, Jaylene, I'm like, so what happened at tryouts? Did anyone say anything? And like, that's when they're like, yeah, a lot of people talk. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta show them what I'm all about now.
Yeah, Dean said you let him know like months in advance, like a long time in advance. So it wasn't like, for him, it was like, I totally understand, he said.
Yeah, I did. I let him know literally before he even moved to school. I was like, my mom wants to know if I'm allowed to go on this cruise. He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Like.
Do you think the gold medals vindicated you? Like it made you, like it validated yourself in the eyes of yourself and your peers? Like, I deserve this spot. Like, this wasn't given to me. Like, look at what I was able to do.
I would say yes for everyone else, but for me it was just like, sometimes I forget that this is kind of my job, this is my career in life, because really I just do what I love. Yeah. And like, I do it without thought sometimes. Like, even when we were in Michigan and when I did a culinary dish, like, I have never felt so on autopilot until that run. I remember coming out and Sosa's mom was there and she was like, how'd you do? How are you feeling? I was like, I don't even know what just happened. Like, I just know I did
like
it.
you blanked out for the whole run,
like,
right?
it was crazy. And, like, even Jake was like, oh, no, something's wrong with her in the run because, like, the way I was moving, I know it was a way I never moved before. But it was just because it was so different changing from pastry to culinary and, like, the time difference and then, like, hot food, hot plate, you know, like, just, like, little things.
Yeah.
So it
You
was
adapted well. I mean, you're the only one of the 5 in Michigan to snatch a gold medal.
That was the other crazy thing. I was like,
that's crazy as well. I mean, it's really impressive.
Yeah,
It really is. And
you.
I tell people, I mean, it's funny. Some people will like actually like specifically ask me about you. Like some people who give the tours around the school. They'll be like, "Oh, how's Nessa doing?" I'm like, I always say the same thing. I'm like, this is a 1 in a million. I'm like, you could be teaching for 30 years and not find a student with this kind of talent. Yeah. And I fully believe that with you. You just you have it, and it's really incredible to watch. When I came and I watched your guys's, one of your, it was probably like your 3rd to last run, I think, with the team. I obviously saw what all you were doing, but with your run, when it can just be you in your zone, I was like, this is incredible. I was like, not only is she incredible, but also she has just improved exponentially in a couple months.
Yeah.
That station was clean as a whistle, like working efficiently, like great plating window. Yeah. I was impressed, and it made me want to compete. It made me want to do it again. It made me, you know, I'm like, Dean, when's the next competition come out? I'm done off my break. Take me off my break.
Yeah.
But I mean, nationals. I mean, you want to talk about the team stuff first, or the student pastry chef stuff first? But
we can talk about the team stuff first.
Okay.
But relating to what you're saying, the funny thing is that, like, respectfully and, like, in the most humble way possible, I've gotten that so much of, like, I haven't had a student like you ever, or, like, I haven't, you know, or, like, you're the only, like, I wish there was more students like that, like you. And, like, I don't really know what to say. I just feel like, thank you, like, you know, but, like,
you don't
it's
have
like
to say,
the most.
You don't have to say anything else.
It's, like, probably the most rewarding thing to me because I'm very hard on myself, and I'm very perfectionist. Like, if things aren't how I want it to, like, I'm gonna say something and I'm gonna do something about it. Like, and, like, I'm also very, like, I know I could be very demanding at times. Like, if I want something done, I want it done now, and if that means I have to do it by myself, so be it. So, like, those are probably, like, the most, like, reassuring, like, words that a lot of people say. Because, like, I don't believe it myself. I feel like anyone on the team can be labeled as that, you know, anyone in the kitchen to be, like, I feel like everyone has a potential to just be so high, but I just feel like it relates back to you reap what you sow. If you put hours and hours and hours in it, you're going to get them back. Outcome you want.
100%. Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, this is a piece of personal advice. The balance of, like, humble and, like, braggadocious is, like, you got to find it. Because the two extremes are never where you want to be at. Yeah. You don't want to be too humble. You don't want to be too braggy. You have to, you know, pick yourself up. Show a little character. You show, like, especially when these freshmen come and listen. It's like, I am Baker Nessa. Yeah. I know what's up. Like, if you need help, I got you. Like, when you come in that kitchen, people should be like, oh, Nessa's here. That's it's a joke, but it's kind of not. Yeah. You should definitely have, like, an aura about you, a presence about you that embodies, like, those good things that people have said about you without coming off as, like, in that braggy way. And there's definitely a balance you can strike. And I think that's something over the summer. Think about that and see where you kind of come out, especially for yourself mentally. I think that's definitely my best piece of advice from you, like, genuinely from the heart. Yeah. But I want to get into when we do pastry chef stuff, I want to go back to how you got started with that, but the team, I mean, you guys just I really want to hear about the run and everything. You had 2 best of shows, so it's 4 courses. It's a fish app, it's salad, it's entree, and it's dessert. You had the 2 best of shows going to app and salad, and then you had the best overall score by, like, blew it out of the water. I think it was like 10 points. Yeah, ridiculous. Last year was, I think, 6. So you guys even widened the gap, not only from last year, but you widened the gap from regionals as well.
So nationals, me and Jaylen were just talking about this because I was like, you got to give me a rundown of what happened on hot side because, like, I only know what I saw. I'm on cold side, so, like, I only know so much.
You're in the dessert position.
But so we go in and I just remember, like, it felt like chaos. We were the last team to go.
Yes.
And we were in the kitchen that was, like, right smack dab, like, in the eye of the public.
You guys are good at drawing last.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
You guys are really good at drawing last. Yeah. You're 3 for 3 on, wait. No. Are you 4 for 4 on that? What? Did you go last in regionals too?
our team went last in regionals.
Your team, but not you. You
No.
were like in the middle. I
went
think.
in first.
Oh,
Like,
so you're 3 for 4 because
I don't wanna-
you
wait,
once and then the team
first?
twice.
Yeah, I believe I was like first or second, somewhere around there. I was pretty up there though. We start getting our stuff and we're getting ready. We're about to wheel the cart down and like at the school is like, if y'all were there, y'all would understand, but it was crazy. Like not crazy busy, but it was crazy like weirdly organized, really weirdly like built. So like there was this one elevator that would mainly take you, and then the other elevator was closed because that's where the judging room was. So then we were going down the elevator, and then Dean was like, I can't remember if we went down and then Dean called. Yeah, we went down and then Dean called and was like, where are you guys? Why isn't the food on the cart? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, and I know he's really stressed right now. Like, this is a big moment for us. And so we were like, oh, they were going to carry it down. He's like, no, I don't like that. Bring the cart back up. But I'm sitting there. I get out the elevator and there's like the people that are trying to direct us into our kitchen. And it's like, we have 10 minutes till our setup window. And they're like trying to tell us like, Team CNY, we need you in the kitchen now. We need your stuff in the kitchen now. I'm like, we have 10 minutes till our setup window. Like, I was confused. And it was, it's actually Chef Jill. But she was like, come on guys, like and we were like,
Chef Jill was there.
Yeah.
I love Chef Jill.
She was like, come on guys, like she was helping us a lot. So I thank her for everything.
She saved us on the frozen proteins.
Yeah, I heard.
Yes.
But she was like, come on guys, let's go. And I was like, okay. And so then I was like, well, Dean wants to back upstairs. And then they're like, so she was holding the elevator trying to talk to the team. Literally, I could you not, for like 3 minutes. I'm like, they could have already been up and back if you would have just let them go. Yeah. So I was so under stress. Like, and I was doing a really good, the whole entire run and like before the run of like being super like, just like calm. Not overwhelmed, just calm. Exactly. And so when it came to when she was doing that, I started to get frustrated. And I was like, and I tried to say in the most respectful way, I'm like, we're holding them in the elevator, just let them go. Just let them go. Yeah. And so finally she's like, okay. Like, and so then she lets them go and then they put the stuff on the cart real quick and they go back downstairs. Yeah. And so then I start pushing the bin to run because they want the stuff in the kitchen. And like at that point I had my game face on. Like that was it. My family, I even remember hearing my Theo like just like you're dead. Like
yeah, your game face is something else. It's like you're so in the zone. Mm-hmm. It's like someone will be like, "Hey Nessa," you're like,
I know.
Nope.
Exactly.
Not I didn't hear a word.
Everyone always says that.
It's a skill. It's a skill. It really is.
Everyone's always like, Nessa, like,
it's taught.
I'm like, huh? What'd you say? You talking to me? Like, sorry. But yeah, so like I had my game face on. I remember my Theo, I think he was like, oh no, she got her game face on, like let her be, and I'm pushing this and I'm running while pushing this bin and I'm running to the kitchen and I put it in and then I come back on, I throw my apron on. And like I kept telling the team, like, you guys know what I feel right now? And they were like, what? I'm like, have you watched The Bear? And I was like, I literally feel like I'm in the show right now. Like it was just like from like the way I tied my apron to like just like the emotions I was feeling was just very
main
like
character
I felt
energy?
like it was right. Like I felt like all eyes was on me. Like and just like my game face like that was it for me. Like so I kept 100%. Having to like. Yeah. You know how they like zoom in and the flame is like, it's just like everything, every little thing I felt. So then, so then we're about to roll in with our cart. They come back down and then Dean was like, come on girls, I want you guys right here real quick for a huddle. And then Chef Jill and this other kid was like, no, come on. Like we got to get you guys in the kitchen. And then Dean kept telling Chef Jill, like, no, I need them. And then she was like, okay, Chef's call. I'm like, y'all are preying on our downfall so bad right now. Like, let us be. We have 5 minutes till our setup window. So then we go to Dean and we get in a huddle and Dean starts talking and he starts breaking down, getting emotional. And we're like, Dean, why right now? Like
it's the culmination of everything. Yeah. He's watching his like little babies go and do their competition.
He was like,
and
no
you guys
he
loved coaching your guys' team. I mean, 100%. Can't relate.
It was so cute, but he was like, no matter the outcome, like, he was like, look, I'm proud of
always,
you. And like, we start crying. Yeah. All of us girls start crying. Like, it's a team of girls. We're all emotional, whether we want to admit it or not. Like, and so we all start crying and we're like, Dean, Michaela's like, Dean, why are you making us cry? I'm like, for real. It's like, we're all crying. So we hurry up, we finish our crying, and then we do our Team Ducky chant, I believe. And then we start rolling in the cart. We put the rest of the stuff in the kitchen because they want us to put it in the start of the kitchen. And then they're like, okay, we'll move out the way because we have one more course we have to run for another team. I was like, okay, whatever. So then finally we're about to go in, and we do the 10 of us, including Dame, so 10. Chant, and then everyone's like getting all riled up, and we jump in on our setup window, but like just the setup of the kitchen was a little different than what we practiced.
Yeah, it's always gonna be.
Yeah,
ours was totally different.
Really?
Totally different.
We had one sink. We had one sink during practice, but in the run we had 3. There was a hand washing sink and then two sinks. Two sinks
to wash dishes?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily wash dishes, they were tiny. It was more like just like dump out ice, put water in for boiling water, whatever. So then we get set up, and then like I can't remember, just like little things were happening. Like we didn't really forget anything, but it was more of just like, okay, well, we're gonna do this, blah blah blah. Like we're gonna have the cart facing this way. Like we already discussed these things, so it's kind of just like we knew what we were doing, but it was just kind of weird in the sense of like we don't know where to put the bus bin, we don't know where to put the trash. Like we knew the trash bin goes with the dishes.
Those small details that you start panicking about, but you don't really need to. It's all gonna kind of work itself out, but in the moment you're always trying to like.
And we had like we brought like this big metal like riser, so that way the bin wasn't on the floor because they didn't like that.
Yeah, because they deduct that.
Yeah. So we put it under like this table. And we didn't use the riser. We used it for something else. We actually used the riser under the sinks, under me and Tati, and we put our sandy bucket there. So it was perfect because we had our sandy bucket on the cart.
I'll tell you right now. Every competition like that, you're gonna improvise a little bit. Like you got to, like because the setups are gonna be different. We were all for our practices. We had like an L shape, and then the cold side would be on the outside of it, and then warm side would be all on the inside. We weren't allowed to be on the outside of nationals, and we didn't know that. So it's all of us inside, and then I'm right here. The fridge is right next to me.
Yeah.
So everyone would open the fridge and boom, right in my head. Like I'm trying to losange, and then boom, right in the head.
That's kind of how. So it was for Sosa, and I felt so bad because I kept trying to open the fridge the opposite way, but it was like this way.
Excuse me, come on.
But the cool thing was we had 2 low boys, one under me and then one under like Jaylene, Michaela, something like that.
Low boys like the fridges, right? Okay.
And me and Tati, I remember we were talking about it the day before. I'm like, do you want to switch positions? Like, what do we want to do? Because Tati was like, I have to get in there a lot. And I was like, so do I. But I'm very, like, when I'm in the moment, if you bother me, like, sometimes I, like, you know, I get a little...
Yeah, you get a little
feisty, you know, so...
And people take that very, very sensitive. Yeah. Like, for people who are so hard in the kitchen culinary things, they can be very, like...
Yeah. So Tati understood, and then she's like, okay, but you better not get mad at me. I'm like, no, I won't, I promise. Like, I was really, like, trying my best to be calm, collective, and I was, up until the plating window, but I was, you know, so then our run starts, we do our last chant, like, it felt so unreal. Like, I literally imagined us in the kitchen here in dining lab at our last practice when we were in New Orleans. Like, I was like, we're not in the kitchen right now. Like, I remember looking at Michaela, feeling like we were here at home, but we weren't, you know? So we start, and like, I remember, if I'm not wrong, Sosa was ahead of like what she was doing. I remember hearing her like, okay, well, they're not ready for this, so I'm gonna start on this. But then I think Jaylene somehow ended up backing up and being like behind, and then Michaela was a little behind too. I can't remember I don't know what the reasons were exactly, but I know that it basically happened like a domino effect. That then this started being late, then this started being late, and then it just like happened, and they rushed out to plating. I believe App was on time or like 30 seconds late. Then salad was like a hair. I think we were like maybe on time, maybe seconds, or maybe a minute late. And then entree, I know we were late like a minute or something like that. And then
dessert was on time though.
Yeah. So I remember.
Didn't you do the same thing at regionals? Weren't you guys late on the first couple, and then you hit the last course?
No, at regionals we were on time with everything.
You were? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the first couple were late.
It was like, and we also had to constantly have team like huddles real quick. And I feel like that was really good. That displayed us really good.
Oh, 100%. That's a really good, like, teamwork, like, kitchen score. Like, that's, boom, right there. That kind of communication.
So I remember looking at the bin, and I was like, Jaylene, Michaela, we need to reset this now. And we were like 40 minutes in already. They're like, okay. They're like, yeah, we're behind right now, da-da-da. And I was like, oh, like, we got to get this together. So then me and Tati were like in a good spot. So I was like, Tati, like, let's start getting this together. Let's start dumping out what we got to dump out. Let's start cleaning this out, blah, blah, blah. So me and her basically picked up after Jaylene and Michaela. And I was honestly really proud of us, just as a team as a whole, because, like, even though we were behind somewhere else, others picked up our, you know what I'm saying? So it was really good. So then we did what we had to, and then we had a team huddle. Our first team huddle was because our oysters didn't open up.
Well, they were frozen,
Oh.
is my understanding.
I have no idea. I just know
Yes,
our oysters.
they were, yeah. So what happened was someone had accidentally put them in the freezer. I don't know who. But and when that happened, all the water froze up, so some of the oysters did die.
Yeah.
So you guys had to really
Yeah.
try to get
I know that they were. Yeah,
12
I know
out
that
of it.
oysters. Majority of the oysters were dead, but I didn't know that they were frozen. I just know
Yeah,
that,
they died because they were frozen.
Yeah, so I just know that Sosa could only get open 6, and we still had to like pry open.
You had to pry
7.
open the ones that you saw
Yeah.
open a little bit. I remember you fully pried.
So I was like, oh no, when I saw that like at the corner of my eye, because again, I'm at the very end. And so then all of a sudden I see Sosa had like I don't know if it's I don't know what those, a third pan, a sixth pan, I don't know.
Depends on which pan you're talking about.
I think it was a third pan, I want to say. Anyways, but she had a pan of the oysters on the grill. And she was like, so like our first team huddle was, do we want to throw them out or do we want to leave them here? And I was like, definitely we're not throwing away food, so let's leave them here. So we all decided to leave them there. So yeah, so then we got out all the courses. We got out all the courses except for dessert. We were really pushing for everyone to just like, let's go. And then dessert starts to happen, and they forgot the banana Fosters in the
Oven.
in the oven too long, so it started crisping up, and it almost burnt. Like it was like a hair from burning. And I remember like, I'm like, okay guys, like I said it once, and I was like, guys, I need all hands on deck. Like we had people starting to put away stuff like Michaela and Jaylene, but I'm like, no, like I need all hands. And like I said that twice, and then I was getting frustrated, and I didn't get frustrated the whole entire run. So I was really proud of myself. So I was trying to keep myself as composed as I could. And then I told Tati again, Tati, I need you to do this now, please. Like, and then Tati was paying attention to the bananas, and I'm like, there's no need for 4 people to pay attention to these bananas.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like let's get it together. So eventually I was like, okay, like this is it. I'm not gonna say it no more. I already repeated it twice. Like
Yeah.
that's it. That's enough for me.
You're
I'm
kind
like,
of stopping yourself because
Yeah.
you knew if you said it again, it'd come out a certain
So
way.
I was just like, I'm pushing this. Like one thing about me was that I remember Dean would always tell us during practice, like once one course is late, you guys are gonna be late together. But he told our team like we were really good, and he has never had a team that would be able to pick up and catch up and make time after they were already late like a course or 2.
Yes.
And so I was like, I don't care. We are going to be on time. I don't care. Like I'm not gonna throw this stuff on the plate, but I'm gonna throw this stuff on the plate, you know? So I'm like sitting here and I'm like, okay, so the entremets are on there. I'm like, let me put down the sablé. Like ganache was already first thing piped. I was like, all right. I was like, as soon as you guys are done fixing whatever you got to fix, I'm like, I want these down now. So literally as they're putting them down, I'm canneling, and then I'm putting chocolate decor on, and I kid you not, as they called service, I was like, or as they called time, I was like service, and I was out. Like literally right as it happened, and I was like, I felt so like, even walking into the judges room, I was like, okay, now I gotta like put on a whole nother face because like I had a game face on, I gotta switch it, and I have to say what this dessert is. Yes, exactly, like that. I was walking and I was like, because I know, but that's like the best feeling is like, I'm the last one. You're
the showstopper.
Exactly. Like I'm the last one. There's nothing else after this. I could take a deep breath, say what I gotta say, and that's it. You know, like I was rushing to get Tati to deliver the salad, and then I was out. Like literally, I didn't even wait for her. I was like, I'm out. You know. So for me, it was just like I love being dessert because I'm the last one. So yeah. So I remember going into the judges room. And I had said something, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I apologize. And I had to restart because I was like, my words were like, because my mind was like all over the place. And so, yeah, so we got out on time, and I was like, I come back, and I was like, y'all, like, that was a hell of a run. Like, that was our worst run yet. Like, no
I
hands
heard
down.
a lot of murmuring that you guys are like, that was not our best run.
No, that was probably, Dean literally even said himself, he goes, yeah.
He told me the same thing.
He was like, that was definitely a run I would have saw, like, by the 3rd practice. And so it's like for us, the fact that that was our worst run yet.
Not yet. It was definitely like it was middle low.
Definitely
yeah, of course
our
you
worst
feel
run,
that
like,
way because you have the expectation of it being the national.
We were like,
but
the fact that was our worst run and we still won, like we were like, not like, I mean, for me I was more like, how do those other schools practice that? And if that was our first run and we won, like,
Well, you have to
what?
understand you're hitting certain concepts that the
Yeah.
other schools just don't have, right?
Oh yeah, and then we had another team huddle because Tati comes back from the salad and was like, oh, they're asking us what entree or what course what course is our New Orleans like themed, or what course is inspired by an original New Orleans. And we were like, all of them, like what? And so Tati goes back and tells them all of them, because all of them are,
Yeah, all of them are New Orleans inspired.
But we didn't know that there was one specific one. So in the window,
I think
we were all
the
like,
entree.
So yeah, that's what we all decided. In the window, we all decided, okay, let's say the entree. But then after we were done and we talked to Dean, Dean was like, it's in the packet. Why don't they read the packet? The packet says appetizer.
They don't read the packets.
Or not appetizer, but it says first course, And so we're like, we look at each other like, oop. So then when we went to the kitchen critique, or judge's critique, tasting critique, we then told them like, oh, sorry, it was the app, because.
Yeah, they're all New Orleans inspired. I mean, your salad had the corn components and stuff like that. That's a classic New Orleans. And then appetizer had the fried fish and the red rice. And then the entree had the rabbit saddle. And then your dessert was based off the New Orleans, the hurricane, right?
Yeah. So I was just about to say that too, is that when we got to the critique, they told us to, like, any of these dishes could have made it. Like, could have been the inspired.
Exactly. I think it's supposed to be the appetizer, but he's just like, let's do all of them. Yeah. I think that's his kind of mindset. I know the dessert also has to be, because you saw like other schools have like the beignet or that kind of stuff, New Orleans classics. But I mean, when you guys were announced as the winners, like what was the feeling? I mean, you got to tell me.
Okay, so really quick though, our kitchen critique was like, we were lost. Like, I remember being in the critique looking at each other like.
So I'll just say that the kitchen critique, like it definitely, like, they had some pointers, but I think they were more trying to find something like, this is how you guys can get to the next level. Yeah. I don't think they were like, oh, you like, this is what you needed to do, or this is what you should have done, and you should.
No, for sure.
I think they were like, if you guys really want to upgrade from here, like, this is all the stuff you got to do.
Because they expect us to, and I was like, yeah. So I kind of liked having that feedback, given the fact
that outlook on like, how do we go beyond this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was interesting how, like, to have that kind of perspective about like, how do you guys get to the next level kind of thing. But I think you guys took it as like, oh no, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, I didn't know this.
We were like, a HACCP plan, huh?
Yeah, but these aren't requirements. But if they had them, that would even be like, if your kitchen score could have gone higher, it would have, you know what I mean? It would have sent it. So
we were a little confused, and then when it came to the tasting critique, we definitely felt a lot better. We were
100%.
We were like, oh, okay, like we kind of have an idea, we kind of have this in the bag, but not really. We just knew we never knew we had it in the bag. Let me not say that. We more were like, okay, we feel a little bit better about ourselves, like, now that we got the tasting critique. And they also said, like, the hot food was hot and the cold food was cold. So they really appreciated that.
And 2 years in a row, we're actually the only school to serve the correct temperature plates to the judges. Me and you did that.
That was another thing. In the window, Sosa told Jaylene not to put the plates in at this certain time, and I was like, why are we changing what we used to do? I remember hearing that and questioning it, but she did do the right thing.
She was probably like, we're going to be late, I don't want to put them in yet. That was probably like what was going through her mind at the time, if I had to guess.
It said like 19 minutes or something like that, and she was like, no, put them in at 15 or 17 or something like that. And I was like, and I almost.
But you were like, just put them in now. Like, what's the,
like,
why bother?
I was confused, like, why are we changing what we already did? Like, the tablet says what we got to do at what time, So
always follow the tablet.
I was a little confused, but it all worked out. But yeah, so then we got our tasting critique, and we're like, okay, we feel a lot better. Funny thing is, I actually vacuum sealed the lime sponge. So I made it here and then vacuum sealed it to take it to New Orleans.
Got messed up?
So I vacuum sealed it between two eighth pans because I needed another eighth pan to make my banana. My bread pudding base.
You should have done cardboard.
So I should have done a lot of things. But so
it's all learning experience.
I vacuum sealed it, and then when we got to New Orleans, I checked it, and I told Dean, I'm like,
this messed up.
Are you sure you want to use this? And he's like, yeah, looks fine, thickness. I think it's not too thick. I'm like, no, but do you see this? This thing looks like raw cake. Like it's not a sponge cake no more. Like this thing is like
got compressed.
Yes, it's like what's the word? It's like, when like if you smush down cake, like the
Yeah.
stuff you make for cake pops, like
Yeah.
I mean the cake, like
Yeah,
crumbled smush
it
cake.
takes
It
all
looked
the
like
air out of
that,
it, so it becomes
yes.
very dense.
Exactly, it looked like that. It was like sticking to the top of your mouth. Like kind of thing. And so that was something they said in the critique was like, oh yeah, and the lime sponge, it was so hard to cut through, and when we ate it, it was like a little gummy, and I was like, looking at Dean like, I told you something was wrong.
That's better than imagine if he realized that you had to make a new lime cake. I don't think that would have been the best thing.
So it was
I don't think
just,
he would have been too happy if we had to make a new lime cake.
no, for real. I mean, well, it was just all stuff we had already kind of bought, so it was like, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it was just like, I was like, it's funny to me because sometimes I doubt myself so much, and then I ask Dean, and then when Dean gives me the exception, I'm like, okay, I'm good. But then I should just listen to myself and just really think what I have to say.
Because he got 100 things going through his mind at once. He sees it, he's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But you're like, this might be a little, like, I've seen this 100
also,
times.
I need to stop doing this, but I don't trust myself enough. I feel like I always
You've earned
doubt
that
myself.
at least to trust yourself
I
enough.
always doubt myself. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? You know me. I always.
It's always good to get a second opinion as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing you do is when you ask someone for their
Oh,
opinion,
no.
and then they give you their opinion, and then you're like, no, I'm gonna do it this way, and it's like, well, why
I
do
knew
you
you were gonna
ask?
say that, and I've found myself doing that a lot now. But I
it's not
always
a
think
bad-
of
it's
you.
not a bad thing.
I always
It's a-
think of you when I ask a question, and then I'm like, I already know the answer. I already know the answer I want to hear. Why am I asking it?
Yeah.
Like, why am I asking?
But that's
it?
why I tell you that, because I'm like, you already know, so why are you even bothering asking? It's a trust yourself thing, 100%, like what we were going back to before. But I mean, getting that medal, I think it took you guys a minute to realize, because I was on the FaceTime with you.
I was about to say, because Dean goes, so we're all sitting in, well, mind you, was Student Pastry Chef of the, like I was in the Student Pastry Chef of the Year awards right before. So I left and I went out and I went to go take pictures. All of a sudden I hear Nigel like, come on, we gotta go, you gotta go, like the team's about to go up. I'm like, huh? Like I'm confused. Like, I'm like, well, they want to take a picture. So then the camera lady was like, okay, like everyone else move out the way, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a picture with just my
certificate?
Yes, but I didn't have a chance to take out my medal, so I just took a picture, like, and then she's like, okay, and I left, and so I felt so bad because I think we were supposed to take a group photo, but I didn't get the chance to.
Don't worry about it. It was probably chaotic. You had a lot going on.
Yeah. So then she was like, come on, let's go. So I go to the table. I'm like, what's happening? I see there's a team up there, on stage, and I see all of a sudden I hear like, okay, so for this next one we have like this crazy like tiebreaker. Well, I don't know, some. I'm like, so what's happening? Where are we at? Are we first, second, third? Like, what place are they doing it? And like, where are we at? So I was
because
so
they had
confused.
it called every winner, every person who competed. They call up to take the photo, then bring the. Like, they didn't do that for us. They just called the winner up.
Yeah. So I was so confused, and I was like, okay. I was like, so what's happening? And no one really knew what was happening. And so then all of a sudden, they were like, okay, so for second place we have a tie, and we're all holding hands, and I'm like,
We did the same thing. We
okay.
held hands in a huge circle.
I was like, okay, and then they called the two schools, and I'm like,
Neither
but they
was
didn't
you
say
guys.
the second place. I don't even remember what they said. They said something about having a tie. That's all I heard. Unless I was like zoned out, but They
probably said second place. For second place, we have a
Yeah.
tiebreaker. You only heard the
So
second
then
half.
we were like, huh? So we all look at each other, and I took a video, and I was like looking at everyone like, huh? And then all of a sudden, then they were about to call up first place, and I was like, I gotta see this on the screen. Like I gotta see Student Team of the Year. I gotta see that first. And
Like you won't
Dean,
accept the reality until you
exactly.
see it on the screen.
And Dean goes, so what, you guys want to get out of here or what? And we're like, Dean, you're lying. Like all of us girls are like, no way. So then we all like look at the screen, and it says Student Team of the Year, like the Culinary Institute, New York, Monroe College. And then we all look at each other, we start crying, and we're like, and then we go up the stage, and it's like, it was just the best feeling. One, being an all-girls team. I feel like in this generation now, like that is so empowering. Not only to
100%.
us, but other people, I feel. So like us being an all-girls team was just like top tier. Like,
Yeah.
and then us
Especially
being
because
the
people will say it
youngest,
too. People will be like,
yeah.
oh, it's all girls.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys have no idea. Like, guys and girls
what
bring
you
their
want?
own issues. I said in the first episode, I'll say it now.
Yeah.
Guys and girls bring their own issues separately. Like, I wouldn't even take that into like much of a
Yeah.
consideration. I don't think it matters. I just don't think it matters that much. I think everyone has their own baggage.
And then the other thing was us being the youngest. That blows my mind. Like,
The youngest.
we're the youngest team.
What do you mean you're the youngest team?
The other teams are like mad.
Our team was just as young as you guys.
No, I'm talking about teams there that we competed against.
Oh, sometimes I was
That's what
amazed.
I mean. Yeah.
When I looked at some of the other teams last year, I was like, these guys look like they're 30 years old. How is this a student
There's
team?
a guy with gray hair on my
Right? Like, I'm like, what? I'm like, how is this person? And then you whoop them, and it's
yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
and it's like,
yo.
that's kind of fire.
So like, just us being the youngest team competing, and then all girls just. So then we walk up stage, and we're like, and then Kimberly
yes.
Rock Brown, she was like, she goes, oh, I love this team, da 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 da. And I'm like, like we love you, and so yeah, we take our picture, and we're like, there's no way right now, like. We were also
Disbelief.
like, yeah. And so even when we took our pictures and then there was like sponsorships, I was like, congratulations. Like, you know, they gave us knives and it all has the ACF logo on it, on the knife.
Yes,
with
yeah,
the
I
New
saw
Orleans
those.
patch.
Those were really
Yeah.
cool.
So we were like, all like, we're still so shocked. And we're like, Dean, you knew, huh? And he starts laughing. And we're like, and so he was just holding the trophy. It was so cute.
He was like, I deciphered it on the Tuesday. I was like, okay. Because he
whatever.
picks up on like things people say.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like he figured out like they were the only team, you guys were the only team that served the correct temperature plates. That's kill.
it, yeah.
That's it right there. Because it not only shows like they're serving the proper temperature
shows
food.
discipline too.
100%. It's the discipline of it. It's like if the other teams couldn't get that, what else did they mess up?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like that's the first thing you notice as a judge. You touch that plate or you touch the food. Is it hot? Is it not? What is it supposed to be?
Yeah.
That's like the first tell-all, and that sets the tone for the rest of the critique. You have to
Exactly.
realize as well. So.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were ecstatic. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then we took pictures, and then we still didn't believe it too. And I think it was AB Tech. They came up to us and shook our hands, and there was like, you guys deserved it. Like, well
Yeah, we enjoyed them last year. We talked to them
Yeah.
a while. They actually invited us to do something, but it ended up raining. But
Oh, wow.
like they were
Yeah.
they're a really cool team.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then the Nebraska team gifted us the taffy.
Yeah,
and
same
whatnot.
last year. I have the note in my room. I'll actually show you later.
I think we left at the hotel.
Oh no! Oh my God!
I'm sorry because
I have it
they
in the
handed it to me and I was
bookshelf.
trying to give it to Sosa, but I don't know. And then
Oh, that shade.
I don't know. I think she just like
Things get lost,
Yeah,
and the note they
exactly.
handed
And
us
I
was like this big.
Yeah,
too.
so
I was like hard to
let me
lose.
I was like, let me
Yeah,
just
but we
keep it on
managed
the
to hold on
table
to
in
it.
front of me. So that's what I did. But so then afterwards we were like, no freaking way. So then Hamza and Jakari were actually sitting with my family because there was only 8 seats at our table, or 9, 8.
The two
No,
most
no.
responsible men on the team, I might add.
Bye. 8. There was 8 seats at our table. So then Dakar and Hamza sat. So then when we came back, we gave them big hugs and like I went around and thanked everyone of the support. Najee ended up leaving.
and they deserved
early.
it.
Christian didn't feel good, but
Yeah.
So I
The ones that were there.
Yeah, I hugged them and just thanked them for everything because we would definitely not be the team we are today without them.
100%. Oh my
would've
God,
burnt
those
out a long
support.
time ago.
And now that they're becoming the new team next year, excited for them, right? I'm
sure,
expecting big
definitely.
things from your roommate, the future captain, as well as the
Yes.
guys. I mean,
Yes.
I like how the two guys for the sport team they seem to be really behind Bella as the new captain.
Yeah.
So.
No, they love it.
Real quick, so nationals and everything, that's awesome. I just really quick want to touch on the Italy stuff really quick. Just give me a rundown of how that came to be and all that.
Well, do you want to talk about Peace Corps?
Peace Corps, yeah, we can go over them quick.
Okay.
I don't want to go too over time, but
Yeah.
we definitely go quick.
So really quick, Peace Corps. I more want to talk about it because I haven't, like I told you, I haven't really had the time to like sit and
Process
think about it. Yeah. But Peace Corps, I feel like one thing a lot of people think is that I'm upset about the way that the outcome came. But realistically, like, I'm so proud of myself and I'm so proud that I was able to represent Dean in the way that I did. And I feel like that was the biggest thing that was to me was making sure that Dean was represented the way that I feel Dean deserves. And I feel like I did a good job of that. And I feel like that was like my one job, you know? Like, yeah, it would have been nice to win, but it's like you can't win all of them.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's
Yeah.
I've always said, since it came last year, that's the most fierce competition. That's harder than score and it's harder than the team to win.
And-
Overall, that's
yeah.
fierce. Those people
Yeah.
that enter those competitions, people have been raving to do that competition
Yeah.
for so long, and that last year was the first one.
Yeah.
It's tough competition.
And the other thing for me was that I also have to remember that I was doing student team and Peace Corps.
Yes.
And I feel like
the only person to pretty much
Exactly.
do that.
And
yeah.
like there was even a chef that was sitting behind us at the gala and was like, "Oh, like, hey chef, like, so you're telling me you did an individual and team?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That is, and like that is
Insane.
unbelievable. Like, yeah, that's incredible." I was like, "Thank you so much." Like, he was like, that's a hard thing to do. And I was like, and then it wasn't until he told me that, like, for me to really realize, like, that was a lot.
Because
like,
you've
I didn't
been
have
doing
to
it.
do
You
that.
just
Yeah.
like, Dean was
I
like,
didn't
this
have
is what's
to.
down. You're like, I'll do it. And then you're in
Yeah.
it. And then people are like, how are you doing that? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
And like, I'm proud of myself for making it as far as I did. Because I don't even think I was going
You
to
should be. And I'm very glad that you are.
Yeah, because like, I also had to realize, like, I really kind of just got thrown into it. Like,
100%.
it
Yeah.
was
You
more
weren't like,
I was on
it wasn't
break,
even
he
like,
was like-
you didn't even think it was in the deck of cards for you. You didn't even think like it was a
Exactly.
possibility until it was. And then you're like, I'm taking it.
yeah.
Obviously.
Chef Liv was actually the one that was like, she goes, I already knew Dean was going to pick you for it, pick you to do Piscoy because the minute he threw you in skills. And I was like,
He thinks like that. That
like,
is how he
yeah,
thinks.
and so now it makes sense. But yeah, so, so I really feel like I really gave it my all at Piscoy. I did what I was supposed to. I like exactly like Dean posted. I literally cooked my heart out, like for reals. Like I did everything I possibly could. Well, that kitchen was mad hot, so like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They pumped all the air conditioning for our entire building into the kitchens.
Huh?
It was cold.
Really?
Yes.
No.
It was
let
like
me tell
actually
you,
cold in the
that
kitchens.
kitchen was. My setup window, I was sweating. My setup window. 15 minutes, I started
That's the
dripping
nerves
sweat.
right there.
I'm like, but it was hot in there.
No, I
So,
can imagine. Yeah.
They
That's
even
how.
told
That's
us-
what I expected.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
even told us to like put your tempered chocolate in the fridge. I was like, but that, good thing I did. But
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I feel like I genuinely there was the only thing I could really say about Piscoy was that I was so nervous and like little things were happening. I didn't like I dropped my banana puree a little bit spilled. Like it was more like me dropping stuff.
But in
like,
the
but
moment,
I never like.
but in the moment, it's like the biggest deal.
Exactly, but like I never did anything that was like, oh shit, like this
Yeah.
is it for me. You know, like I really gave it my all. I pushed it through. Like the best feeling was just like I knew my whole family was there. I knew the whole team was there. Like it was just such a good feeling. And so like I really feel like one thing I wanted to do was just like as long as I can step away after this is all done and be like, well, I give it my all, I'm good. And that's really
awesome
what I
for you.
feel. It's
Yeah,
like
and
I
that's
really
yeah,
felt
that's
I gave
exactly
it
how you
my
should feel.
literal all. There were so many times where I could have given up. There were so many times I could have
Yeah.
told Dean, I don't want to do this no more. But you know, I really stuck through to it, and I feel like that speaks for itself. And yeah, so then when like I had no expectations come around to the gala, so like the girl that won, I had already kind of knew she won because her dish was amazing, no doubt about it. But then all I could think to myself was like, I have Italy coming up. Like I know a lot of people can't say they have this
Yeah.
opportunity.
And
so.
I wanted to, if you could just go right
Yeah,
into that,
of
100% to close us out.
So Italy came along because I was about to say something else really quick, and I totally forgot about Piscoy. I can't remember right now, but Italy came along because Dean was like, Dean like,
It's classic.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's an opportunity.
oh yeah, exactly. So he was like, we're in the kitchen, and he's like, hey, I want to talk to you, and I was like, I don't sound good. Like, what is it about, you know?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, he was like, well, first I want to ask you, like, do you want to compete next year or are you retiring? Because I kept making this joke, like, Dean, after team and student pastry chef of the year, I'm retired.
But students really do.
Yeah.
After the team, a lot of students are like,
Yeah.
or I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, then
But-
it was also like the next step after team is student pastry chef or student chef of the year.
Yeah.
And I already did that. So I
yeah,
was like,
so you're like, what even is next?
yeah, exactly. So then I was like, Dean, I was like, you know me, like if there's an opportunity and it's huge, like, not even if it's huge, if there's an opportunity and I want it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I say or do.
Best
I'm gonna
mindset
do
you
it.
can have as a culinary student.
Yeah. So I go and Dean's like, okay, well then let's talk after my class is over. Let's go to my office. I'm like, okay. I go to his office and he's like, so like he goes on about like how you guys used to do internships in Italy and like so on and so forth. And I was like, okay. So like I started thinking like maybe he's gonna ask me to go to Italy for an internship. And then I was like, and then he goes on and says like, yeah, and then they hold this expo every year, and then there's, you know, the Queens of Pastry, and they have a Junior World Pastry Cup, and I'm like, what are you talking about right now? Like, my mind is, like, everywhere. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to finish off
Not this
team
time.
and
You're still doing two
Yeah.
cups at once at the same time.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm still trying to finish this. So then he was like, so basically, he was like, I guess my question to you is just like, would you like to compete at the Junior World Pastry Cup? He's like, it's a 4-day competition. You have to do a chocolate sculpture, sugar sculpture, and a few desserts. Like you would be representing the United States along with a partner. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm excited. I'm down for this, you know, like I'm up for this. And so he was like, okay. He goes, well, the other thing that I ran into was like, he's like, you know, I can make everything taste good. He's like, but I don't really do sugar or chocolate work.
But I got this guy.
Yes, exactly. And so he was like, but I got this guy. He's like Chef Ebo, and he's like, he's my former student of mine, and he went so on and so forth about him. I was like, okay. And he was like, and then the other thing I ran into was, okay, well, who will then be your partner? He's like, we have a lot of good kids at this college. He's like, but I feel like the one that stands out to me, dedication-wise and like whatnot, is Jaylene. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm like, so it started connecting in my head because the day before he had asked Jaylene, oh, how you feel about pastry? And Jaylene was like, what's Dean trying to do? Put me on the team next year?
Every time he asks you a question like that, I'm like, what is he getting at? I'm like, what am I going to encounter in 9 months that is related back to this conversation?
So then he asked Jaylene that, and then he was like, and so then Jaylene, I had called Jaylene earlier and was like, hey, Dean wants you in his office. So right after class, she walked in, and then Dean sped her up and caught her up, and then was like, okay, well, then he asked me before she got there, like, how do you feel about Jaylene being your partner? And I was like, me and Jaylene both come from Arizona. We knew each other before coming to this college, and like we've gotten so close and we live together. Like, you know,
there really isn't a better option,
yeah, exactly.
Especially with Bella being the captain for next year's team. It's you two.
Her and I work really well together, and like she understands my dedication to this. She understands my hard work to this. She understands.
And she understands
I know,
you.
Yeah, I was about to say. She understands. I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm doing. So she was like. So I told Dean, I was like, yeah. I was like, I definitely think she's the perfect fit. Like, we're both learning new things. Yeah, I know a little bit more, but like she still new to both of us.
Yeah.
So then Dean was like, okay. So then Jaylene comes in, we ask her, we talk to her about it, and then she's up for it. So now we're like, oh my gosh, like the two Arizonians.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know, so we're really excited. So
next stop is the Italy Expo for the Junior World. What was it?
Junior World Pastry Cup.
The Junior World Pastry Cup.
Exactly.
Isn't that incredible,
yeah,
right?
So we're excited for that. It's a big thing to us, and actually over the summer, me and Jaylene are gonna go work at the bakery I used to work at.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, we're gonna work together there.
Back in Arizona.
And so she's definitely gonna set us straight and ready for Chef Ebo.
And this is in January, right?
Yeah.
This competition. Wow, that's really soon.
Yeah,
huh?
I'm a little scared of it. Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Well, stay tuned for big things for Baker Nessa and Jaylene as well, and the other team members I'm sure they have opportunities coming as well. Big stuff next semester, 100%. And I think with that, we're going to close out. Thank you for listening to episode 3 on the Expo Excellence podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening. This is me. I'm Frank Costantino with my guest Vaness Ruiz.
Thank you.